And welcome back
to Silent Screaming Resurrected. I'm Jordan Gardell.
And I'm Patrick Hill.
And hello.
Hello.
We are a comedy horror movie podcast.
Where we do a little bit of ASMR and drink a little bit, which you can probably tell we've already been drinking a little bit.
Yeah, you know, who doesn't these days, indulge. Today we're drinking a fun little red wine.
I already forgot what the brand was, but it was something
Sunny
floral.
with a chance of flowers or something.
Yeah, Sunny with a something flowers, which we are drinking. Cheers.
Cheers.
To talk about Ari Aster's second feature film, Midsommar, whatever. It came out in 2019, starring Florence Pugh.
Pew, pew, pew.
Pew, pew, pew.
Love Florence.
I do too.
Before we jump right in,
This tastes bad.
I like it. It's a little tart.
It just tastes like it doesn't have sugar in it.
That's why I like it. I'm not a big sugar person. I think like the diabetes in me is just like, no, it like rejects it. But before we get into Midsommar, welcome back to Jordan's ASMR Corner.
Jordan's ASMR Corner. Didn't we have a sound effect?
It's the bring. Love it. Wow. This is the part of the show.
I feel relaxed.
Relax. Close your eyes.
Good night.
Unless you're driving, don't do that. This is the part of the show where we incorporate a little bit of ASMR and kind of treat it as like a fun little quick game.
Fulfilling our promise of being an ASMR horror podcast.
Yes. So we can check that off.
Check.
Now, for those of you listening at home, I have 3 items for you. You're going to guess the items just by the sound alone. Patrick, you're going to close your eyes.
I'm going to drink wine while I close my eyes.
Okay. Your first item. Okay. First item. Ready?
Yep. Oh. Gum. Mentos.
No.
Balls.
You're so close.
Thumbtacks.
Nope.
Skittles.
You're close. It's my cough medication.
Oh.
So pill bottle, I would have
Pills.
accepted either of those answers. It is benzonate. Anyway, doesn't matter. My cough medicine.
Thank you, Dr. Gradell.
They obviously aren't working very well. Item number 2. Ladies, you should know this.
Oh. Is it a tampon?
Nope.
A diva cup? I'm just going to start naming feminine products.
No.
It's
It's a makeup product.
Maybe I should know it then. Lipstick? No. Eyeliner.
Close. Oh my gosh. You put it on your eyes.
Mascara.
Yes. Ding, 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 ding. Got one right.
Wow.
Last item.
A computer mouse?
Yes.
Wow.
Wow. Very good. Look at you. First guess.
I really thought for a second that you whipped out your diva cup and had that here.
I don't own one of those, but
Good to know.
in case I do, I'll bring it next time.
I actually have that mascara. That's why I probably should have known what that was.
It's not the best mascara for ASMR because it doesn't have the big fluffy bristles. It's more of the like silicone bristles. But anyway.
Wow. Well, thank you for Jordan's ASMR Corner.
You're so welcome.
And now we're going to talk about Midsommar. We're going to jump right into it just to keep things moving.
Yeah, we love a quickie.
So if you were with us last week, I didn't even catch that. I do love a quickie. If you were with us last week, we talked about Ari Aster's first feature-length film, which was Hereditary, starring Toni Collette and some other really amazing actors. And I really think that I'm going to go right into my first thoughts.
Okay.
He really keeps the trend going of movies that surprised me and I really enjoyed.
Surprise and delight. That's what we say in the hospitality industry. And I think that
delight.
Ari Aster may have been a hospitality person in his previous life because he really does continue with that trend.
He loves to surprise and delight. This one is specifically an afternoon delight because it's sunny the whole time.
It is sunny the whole time. Yeah, what are your initial thoughts? Like, I know you love it, but like, what are some like key takeaways? What were your feelings after you saw it the first time?
I was really impressed having a horror movie that's almost entirely shot in daylight. And that is still effectively, I don't know if I'd call this movie scary, personally.
It's like psychological.
It's disturbing and upsetting and thrilling. And I think that the one good thing about that is I've been able to convince a lot of my non-horror friends to watch this movie because of that. So if you're not a horror fan, I think you still would like this movie. So go ahead and watch it. You might be a little unsettled at times, but I don't think you'll ever be scared.
It's disturbing, though. I think we also saw this one together in the
I believe
theaters.
so.
We were like front row or something.
Yeah, we were really close. I remember that.
Really close. Like my neck hurt close.
My neck.
My back. My back always hurts.
I think that was really impressive. I think this movie really like jumps out the gate with like something really unsettling, which is the only time in the movie where it's nighttime is the kind of, the beginning part, which is winter.
Well, it's different. It's different like color schemes too.
Everything. It feels more like Hereditary in the first.
Yeah, like very dark, like cool tones. Yeah, moody.
Yeah.
And then you get into the bright, like almost like overly saturated. Like everything, like they just turn the brightness up. Like when you're editing your photo and you're like editing the contrast and stuff, it's like a totally different world.
Yeah, I think he talks about how the first movie was like.
What I saw is like he wanted to make this about like a breakup film.
Yeah, it's like that's right. He wanted to make a breakup film.
Well, because he wrote this right after he broke up with his girlfriend. So it was like going off of his real life feelings that he was having about like loss and like grief in that particular relationship and like feeling lonely and isolated and like lost and confused, but like happy and like free, but like still like trying to find your way. Anyway, so like if you watch the movie and you go back and you look at it through that lens, I think that it is pretty obvious now, but like I didn't get that the first time personally.
Yeah, I think it's a really unique take on like a revenge or like breakup story.
Yeah.
And soapbox. It's a mini one. I think a lot of people, when this first came out, they were like, yes, girl boss, slay girl, kill your boyfriend, he sucks, blah blah blah. And they were like seeing this movie as a representation of just purely like female empowerment, because I think we can all agree that Christian, the boyfriend in this movie, is a garbage man.
Oh my God, he was so triggering.
Terrible man, very bad, awful.
Yeah.
Horrible. However, then the kind of counter to that was people being like, it's pretty objectively bad for you to kill your girlfriend, your boyfriend, regardless, which true. She doesn't really kill him herself. She like,
I just killed my ex.
Not the best idea is the next verse of that. It wasn't the best idea.
No. Well, maybe for her.
I will say, all of that discourse aside, I wanted to remind the listeners that this movie shows Danny, and this is something I saw in a lot of trivia, so this is a lot from IMDb. I'm not crediting myself with this. Danny is an incredibly codependent person, which I relate to. I'm very codependent in a lot of ways, and she clearly had a very strong relationship with her sister and her family, and when they died, she leaned hard into her boyfriend, who she knew was a piece of shit. Yeah. She knew he was a piece of shit, but then he was kind of all she had left. And then when he dies at the end of this movie, spoiler alert, she's just transferred her codependency to another entire group of people.
Yeah.
Like this whole movie is basically her liberating herself from Christian only to become captive to another group of people.
But you can see that transition because when she gets to, I don't even know what to call it, the community, the compound, the Branch Davidians, they even reference Waco in the beginning, which is hilarious.
I forgot they did that and I laughed out loud when I saw it this time.
It's so funny. But like what you see that like whenever they start like breaking them up into their roles, right? And she starts helping like cooking and like the women in this community really like wrap their arms around her.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, a couple of women like really kind of take her under her wing, and she's like, oh wow, like you can see her starting to like transfer the trust a little bit more from the boyfriend to these people. And then even the scene where she sees the boyfriend having sex with this other girl, she runs away and she's crying, and then she's on the floor like hyperventilating. You see these like other women around her like mirroring her emotion, and you can almost like see it in her eyes, like, wow, these people really care about me.
Really understand
They
me.
really, yeah, exactly. They're going to take care of me. So I think that ultimately at the end, when she had to decide whether or not she was going to sacrifice her boyfriend or not, made her decision a little bit easier, because she like felt safe falling back on that.
And if you read between the lines, if you've seen the movie a couple of times, you realize that like this was a plan. Like like Christian sucks. Yeah. But the cult, once they realized that, which I'm sure Pele had been like explaining to them how this man sucks beforehand. But once you start paying attention, you realize that this whole plot to like have him mate with this girl was multifaceted. One, it was going to get one of the girls in the cult pregnant, which they want to do. And two, they had a immediate way for Danny to turn on him, basically, and be completely manipulated by them. Yeah. Like the whole, like, her being like, what's that sound? Like, and they're like, oh, that's not for us. Like, they clearly wanted her to go check it out. Like, they did. It's pretty clear that...
They're like, no, don't
go. Wait, stop.
Oh, you're going. Okay.
They didn't really try to hide that something was up. And, like, there was a lot of things where... you can see in their dynamic between Danny and Christian that he was up to something and she wasn't fully trusting him the whole time. Like, she even says, like, I feel like you'd leave me here. Like Simon, which I don't know if you recognize Simon in this rewatch. He was just in Saltburn.
He was. I didn't recognize him, but you're totally right.
Yeah. I think one of the other... okay, so in this movie, one of my critiques, and this is just because I'm a horror fucking nut, and I wonder if you feel this way too. I kind of wanted more gore. I wanted to see... I know they were not making it on the nose for us because they wanted to like keep up the charade of this cult being like happy and loving and friendly, except for the suicides and stuff. And wanted to just see the sunlight and the goodness, and wanted to like hide most of the killings from us to maintain that. But I wanted to see the people die.
Okay, I understand. And yes, I would have enjoyed that, but I didn't find myself thinking, oh, I wish I would have seen that. What I found myself thinking, which is actually probably more disturbing, is like, oh, I could live here. I'd be fine with this, actually.
It kind of sounds, I mean, like, minus the having to die at 72 or whatever, and having to mate with whoever they assign you, and also there being some incest weird shit.
I'm like actually kind of on board with it, to be totally honest with you, because like, what defines a cult, right? Like, theoretically, we could all say we're a part of a cult in some way.
So I think I'm really susceptible if anyone ever wanted to recruit me to a cult.
Listen, do I condone them like luring these tourists in and murdering them? No. To your point, outside of that, their way of living seems like actually pretty nice, and like maybe a welcome change. Like, maturing is when you can see yourself living in the Midsommar cult.
Yes, I think that's something that's capitalism's fault, because we're just like, I just want to chill. Like, I'll like do some work to like make food or whatever, bread. But like I just want to like enjoy life and dance and drink and have fun and
honestly
be friends and experience nature. And
so I was like, oh, me thinking that? Intrusive thoughts. But you're right. Like, especially Simon, like whenever you see what they did to him, I'm like, how did we get there? I agree. I would have liked to have seen that. And then like the friend, I can't remember his name, but he went off with the girl.
Played by Will Poulter.
I love him. Oh my God, he's so good.
Jack, I think? No, that's not right.
But like they're all like at the end, they're all like stuffed with hay.
Well, he was.
But so was some of the other bodies too.
No, well, okay. he was, because he was only a head. I read this trivia. So what's supposed to have happened is Ulf, what's the guy's name? The guy who caught him peeing on the sacred tree, skinned him alive and kept his skinned body for himself. And they discarded, I guess, the rest of the body. So the only thing that they put in there of him in the building is his head.
His head skin?
His head skin. And they just like stuff it with
Interesting.
hay. Yeah. I think specifically one of the deaths that I was confused about the first time I watched it was Connie, the British girl. I was confused because the first time I watched it, when you see her dead later on, she's like, looks real gross. Like she's like bloated and like wet.
Slimy.
And they like covered her in like tree branches and stuff. And apparently, so there's a director's cut of this movie that I've seen, like a few of the scenes, especially the scene that I think gives us context here. There's another ritual that the cult does where they sacrifice a tree to the lake nearby. That's like basically a sacrifice to their gods. And there's this whole like sketch where one of the cult members has to be like, I think the gods are still hungry. And the cult's like, yeah, still hungry. And he's like, I will sacrifice myself, and like starts running towards the lake. And Danny was like, no, stop, don't do that. And they're like, oh, okay, like we'll spare him because the gods are satisfied and because the American says so, basically. And that is supposed to be context to show us later on they basically drown Connie in this lake as one of the sacrifices to the gods.
That makes so much more sense. Because maybe they fed him Simon and he wasn't satisfied.
They put Simon in the lake. Maybe.
I don't know. That's so interesting. I do agree though. Like, now that you bring it up, I guess I didn't feel myself like wanting that or craving that, but like, yeah, as a horror fan, like that kind of would have been fun.
Yeah, her death specifically was just the one that I felt the least like satisfied in not witnessing.
Yeah, because I honestly, I kind of forgot that she was like in it until the end, and then you see her body, and you're like, oh
yeah, her.
Yeah, I forgot they were in this movie.
And it's a bummer too, because I think they're also basically, I think the cult is instructed to bring back shitty people.
Yeah,
because like they all pretty much suck except for Danny. Connie
and Simon were fine.
They're actually kind of shitty too. I don't know if you know. I noticed it this time. It was just not that it was shitty. They were just kind of like rude when he was explaining to Danny and all of them like how he met Connie and Simon. He was like, well, I was dating Connie, and Connie was like, it was one date. And he was like, oh yeah, I guess we had went on a date and decided not to see each other anymore, and now they're engaged. And they're like, oh my god, congrats. And Simon's like, yeah, we actually asked whatever his name was to officiate our wedding. And they're like, really? And he's like, no. So like they're actually just kind of dicks.
Okay,
too.
Well,
I think
then
that scene
never
was
mind.
supposed to be like they were
dead.
kind of rude, but I think that they were just British and dry, and he interpreted that as rude people.
Maybe.
But everyone else, I do wonder. I want to know what you think. Do you think there's any scenario where Danny ends up dying in this movie?
Like now, like post movie?
No. Sorry, in this story, if she had not been crowned May Queen, do you think she lives or dies?
I think Pele has like a soft spot for Danny. I think like the fact that he drew her, and like you can tell that he's kind of sweet on her even before they get there. I think that he would have kept her for himself.
Yeah, I think he wants a wife.
Yeah, I think that like his eye was on the prize the whole time, whether she was crowned May Queen or not. I also think that she was brought there to be the May Queen in a way. Like I think like that was kind of his hope.
Yeah, it kind of feels like if you watch the May Queen, the maypole scene where she gets crowned the May Queen, it kind of looks like some of the people drop out
on purpose. It's 100% on purpose. Like they just accidentally bump into each other. Like they've been doing this since they were kids. Like you're telling me they're just like that clumsy.
And also one of the girls bumps into her almost immediately, and that girl gets like kicked out, but she gets to keep going. And I'm like, she also stopped and got bumped into, but they let her keep going.
Yeah, but I wonder why they were. Yeah, I think so too. But I'm wondering like.
Well, one of the things that doesn't make sense to me, if that's the scenario and Pele was planning on keeping her, basically. Did you know that Pele originally was supposed to be one of the sacrifices as well?
No.
Because do you notice the other guy who brought Simon and Connie, he sacrifices himself in the fire.
Oh.
And I read something that said that because Pele provided them the May Queen, and it's supposed to be interpreted from them saying like Pele brought us fresh blood, that Christian got the redheaded girl pregnant as well.
Oh, yeah.
And because of those two things, Pele is rewarded with getting to keep his life, basically.
Oh.
So
he probably knew his life was on the line. I mean, he knew his life was on the line.
So part of me is like, maybe the whole community just wanted Danny. Like, they were like, she's a sweet girl, and like, she doesn't have a family anymore. Like, we can be her family. And like, all the girls really show that too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I also think that they're constantly like on the hunt for recruitments too, because like it's a pretty small community, and like they need, especially if they're like offing themselves at 72, like they need more people to help run the community essentially, and like bring the next generation.
And they only do incest to create the Oracle. Doesn't seem like they do incest otherwise.
No, like they're very strict with like their parameters. And so I do think that he saw an opportunity. Like, no one at home's going to be missing her. She's not leaving anything behind except maybe a job.
Right.
But like, I think he knew that there was a really good chance that like this group of people was like perfect, because you have these assholes over here where like, goodbye, see you later. And then you have this other girl who like he really does like, and like sees a genuine connection, and also knows that she has nothing to lose.
Basically, she has no one left.
Did you notice that at the beginning of the film, like they don't have any subtitles in the movie? It does like later on, but like when they first get there, they don't show the subtitles.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Apparently that was done on purpose, because they wanted the audience to feel isolated.
I like
which
that.
I thought was interesting, but like the more into the movie you get, then they'd start showing the what is it, subtitles.
Did you also notice one of the cult girls comes in pretty early once the subtitles do start, and says to the younger people like, hey, they're showing the kids Austin Powers in that building over there if you want to go watch it. So clearly they have like technology still.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this stuff that they're doing on this day is for show. Like, I think they're probably not so primitive.
They're like, welcome to Genovia.
Because I saw another thing that said, and again, I don't know if I believe this trivia, because a lot of the IMDb trivia I think you can submit. I think you can. I'm not sure. Someone pointed out that all of the food, all the big banquet scenes, you never see any of the cult members eating. You see them stabbing and picking up food and putting it down and putting it close to their mouth and putting it back down if you watch them in the background, but you never see them eating. And it also shows some of the food looks like rotten and like gross.
Yeah, I did notice that.
So it was honestly just to be like a big fuck you to the Americans and the non-Swedes basically in the movie.
Yeah.
And I wonder what they were eating. I mean, guess not that. So
yeah, I don't know. They're sneaking it behind the scenes. Speaking of the food scenes, you probably saw this on the trivia too, but in one of the scenes, this is like halfway through the movie, after the redheaded girl like decided that she was going to choose Christian, there's a scene where they're all sitting at the table and they all have like this like drink.
I know what you're going to say. I didn't notice this the first time I watched it, and I noticed it this time, and I was like,
except for Christian's drink. His drink is like a reddish hue. And like, you kind of know, like if you're looking for the clues, you know, because it tells you what's going to happen. They like,
it was on that quilt at the beginning.
The quilt where like, once you pick your person that you want to have sex with, you basically put your period blood, like you steep it in his drink and like put your pubes in there.
Yeah, you put your pubes in his food, which was the first quilt square, and the next one was the period blood in the drink, which I did not notice the first time, and I was like, how does no one at this table notice that? Or at least the American people notice that everyone else's drinks are lemonade looking yellow and his is red.
Ugh, disgusting. Disgusting.
So gross.
Another really cool thing that I saw, I didn't notice it until I watched it this time, but I saw that once Danny is crowned Mayflower Queen and she stands, or she like...
Mayflower Queen?
Isn't that what it is?
Like the ship? Not the Mayflower Queen?
The same thing, the May Queen. Well, there's flowers. She's got flowers. The May Queen, she stands on that board and they carry her. in the background in the woods, you can see like an outline of her sister's face and then like a tube coming out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
That was crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things like that. Like you also see
Amazing.
after she's crowned too, you see her parents walk. She says that
Yes.
mom, dad,
Yeah.
and her sister's right after them. She's with them too.
Yeah.
She walks through the crowd. There's a lot of little things like that. Do you know the film originally had an NC-17 rating?
Yes, I did.
And then when he cut 30 minutes out, which I don't think that was even included fully in the director's cut because
We
I
need
don't
to
know.
see it.
I want to see all of it because I read something that said that there is a version where you see in full detail and gore how Will gets killed, which is horrifying. Not Will Poulter's character, whose name I still don't remember what it is. Mark. Which, speaking of, Mark, I noticed this time too, because he is wearing a jester hat when he is dead at the end. And there's a scene pretty early on when they get to the cult where the kids are playing a game and they're like, what are they playing? And they're like, oh, they're playing Skin the Fool. And he gets skinned and he is the fool.
Oh my gosh.
One, he like apparently in the director's cut, he vapes like the whole time and he makes a big thing about it. And he's like really has a phobia of bugs and it's just like really annoying the whole time. Everyone just thinks he's fucking annoying. And he makes all these gross jokes about women. And then he gets fucking killed. And gets skinned. And he's basically the fool of the whole story.
That makes sense. I wish they would have left some of that in though, because I feel like a lot of the things they like cut out give so much more context to the movie.
Mm-hmm. So William Jackson Harper plays Josh, who's like the guy who we're kind of all here for. He wanted to go and research the Harga and all of these Nordic traditions and folk tales and religions and things. Did you know he gets killed by Pele? They don't make it very clear, but I saw this.
Oh,
in
is
the
that
IMDb,
him?
And you see him in the reflection that he is the one who hammers him. The person wearing the other guy's face is actually Ulf, the guy who yelled at him for peeing on the tree.
Yeah.
But the one who's standing in a corner with a hammer is Pele.
Damn.
Which, how dare he?
I mean, I feel like he should have to do some of the dirty work.
Yeah, that's fair. He should, because they are his friends that he brought there to be killed. His friends. But they all suck. I think they all pretty overtly suck the whole time. So you like know.
You're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
You know. I mean, I don't know. I think that Josh, that guy, or his character, like, he was very smart. He's like going places and he knows it. I don't really know if he was like, I mean, obviously none of these people deserve to die.
Right.
But like out of everybody, I do think that he was the one that I was kind of like, man, like that really sucks.
He was the least terrible, but I will say he knew a full night before the elderly people jumped off the cliff that that's what was about to happen. Because he knew what that meant when the guy said "Ada stupa" or whatever.
Yeah.
And he still like just smiled and thought it was going to be funny and like
He didn't think they were. Well, do you think he thought that they were actually going to do it, or they were just going to like reenact it?
I just feel like it's such a dick move, especially once you realize it's actually happening, to let your friend's girlfriend, who just had her entire family be killed, watch that. And also, more on Christian. Fuck him for as soon as that they saw the first person start to jump, not grabbing Danny and immediately being like, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Because that's what a good boyfriend would do.
Well, even on the way back, he was like, "Are you okay? Okay, cool." And he just like kept running. Yeah. Speaking of that scene, apparently it's inspired by a Scandinavian myth where a family like jumps to their death off a cliff, and so there's a lot of cliffs in that region. And in what is this, in Switzerland? Where are we at? Sweden. Named after that myth. I can't pronounce it. It's like Tarstapi.
Ada stupa, I think. A Tarstapi.
Astrupa.
I will say too, I read that when Swedish people saw this movie, they loved it, but they also like thought it was funny, which makes sense.
There are some funny scenes, like, and the sex scene with Christian
is very funny.
It's hilarious, but like it doesn't. And he's like, and it's like in his face. I think it's hilarious. I think it's a great scene, but it doesn't make sense with a lot of other, like any of the other scenes in the movie to me.
Like, imagine someone making a movie about the United States and like US history, but like all of the like maybe crazy parts of US history or like traditions that we do, like Thanksgiving, the movie Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Things like that, but just like a heightening everything, making it real crazy. It's basically that. Like it was a caricature of like their culture. Because like a lot of these things I think they recognize are like obviously not true and are like pretty crazy and no one's actually doing them anymore, at least.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why it was funny.
I mean, that's fair.
It's like, I mean, no one's walking around going, oh,
that's true, but they still do the maypole.
yeah. I think that's just a occasion to get drunk, basically. But
I mean, yeah, I mean, true, but I don't know. I mean, I think overall, like, if I'm gonna give like my final thoughts to this movie, I don't know why. I think I had it in my top 10 when we did this back in like 2022, whenever we started this. I think it's like creeped up into my top 5, perhaps.
Wow.
I think so. Like
it's really good.
It is really good. And I think I just like have not appreciated it as much as I should. And I think it just goes to show that you can have, and again, I to your point, I don't think it's a scary movie, but I think you can have like a horror adjacent movie or like a movie in that genre. And it doesn't have to be like super bloody or super violent. Like
right.
Horror can come in all shapes and sizes and forms. And I think one of that is the type of movie for me is the one that is like disturbing and uncomfortable. And I think that's why I can't finish the movie
raw
because it's like kind of gives me that same icky
You should
feeling.
try again.
I don't know. Maybe one of these days if you get me drunk enough.
Raw is great. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a really solid movie. I think this is where I fell in love, like many of us, with Florence Pugh. I think just the scene, one of the scenes that sticks out for me is the scene of her after the people jump off the cliff. And this is very meme-ified and everything too. Everyone has a meme of this now, of her like fast walking and being like,
yeah,
until she gets behind the thing and like then she like breaks down crying. That scene is just so like realistic to like. I feel like everyone's experienced that. Like, I need to cry, but I also need to get out of the place.
Literally me leaving work every day.
Literally me turning off my camera after work every day. But yeah, I think it's really great. I'm really sad for Danny's character, and so was Florence Pugh. Apparently, I read that she said in an interview that this is at least at the time, this was the first time she played a character where when it wrapped, she was like depressed because she felt guilty leaving the character in that place at that time. Because like you think about it and like she's fucked.
Yeah.
Like either she fully integrates herself into this cult or they're probably gonna kill her.
Yeah.
Like what other option does she have? Like she's not gonna get out of here.
But the way they leave the movie makes me feel like she wants to be there. Like I don't know if she would intentionally
think she's going crazy.
She could be going crazy, but I don't think she would choose to leave because, again, like, what is she going back to?
I think it's just showing that she has been successfully manipulated. I mean, they don't even show us her picking Christian to die, but it's assumed that she does. And I think it's just basically trying to show us like a successful endeavor in like making her codependent on this cult.
Yeah. They're making her think that she has free will, but she really doesn't.
And also, that is also illustrated by the fact that she and Christian, neither of them talked for the last 20 minutes of the movie. It's also something I saw on IMDb, but I did notice that when I watched it. They're the main characters, and they don't say a single word for the last like 20 minutes of the film, which is crazy.
I mean, their dialogue becomes like less and less
as the movie goes on.
He just, I don't know. He hates her. And then it's just funny because like once they're there and he knows like he's pretty much fucked and like, you know, he sees like all this recognition that the commune or whatever we want to call them is giving her. He is now the one feeling isolated and alone, which is like polar opposite of how the movie started.
Also, I noticed that one of the girls, did you see, what is her? I don't remember her character's name. She's one of the cult girls, the brunette girl who like, who seduced Will Poulter's character.
Oh,
She at the end has like a cut on her face.
Weird. I didn't know.
And again, I wonder if there's because there's some scene somewhere, I don't think it's in the director's cut because I haven't seen anything about it, of Will Poulter, of Jack getting killed or Mark getting killed. I don't know why I keep wanting to call him Jack. of Mark getting killed and skinned or whatever. And I wonder if that she like gets stabbed or like cut or something in that scene.
We need to go back and watch it because again, I think like so much of the things 30 minutes of film that they cut out gives us a lot of the answers to this. And
I really want to watch the whole director's cut because I like the additional stuff. But I read something that's half the people think it's better with all the director stuff, and half the people are like, a lot of it's just spelling out what you glean from the movie on your own.
I need someone to spell it out for me, okay? Like, don't make me work that hard.
There's no shame in that.
Yeah. Especially if I've watched it multiple times and I still have questions. Like, just fucking give me the answers to the test.
Exactly. If you liked this podcast, you can rate, review, and subscribe on any platform. I think we're on all of them or most of them. Find us. You'll find us.
You're a big person.
Big boy. We're Silent Screaming Resurrected. And then if you want to follow us on Instagram or TikTok or send us an email, you can find us at Silent Screaming Podcast. The email is at gmail.com.
Gmail.
Oh, I said all the things this time. Sorry.
You did. It's okay. I'm just here.
I'm just a girl.
I'm just a baby. We love you. Hugs and kisses. We'll see you next time. Don't drink and podcast, y'all. That's not a good idea.
Don't drink and podcast, but we will.